Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy Light back here with another YouTube video, and in today's video we're going to be doing Suicide Squad Hell to Pay review here on the channel. So yeah, Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. Actually, I just recently watched it, rewatched it, or technically it was more of like watching it for the first time-ish, just because it's been a while since I watched it. But yeah, I thought let's kind of review it, I guess. It's not going to be too much of a serious review. It's just going to be basically just talking about it kind of thing. I'm not talking about the whole DC animated universe or something like that. I'm just talking about this movie just because I feel like it, and honestly, I just watched it, so I was like, why not? So yeah, anyways, let's get to it. Yeah, so Suicide Squad Hell to Pay, definitely an interesting movie, I must say. Definitely really interesting, and a lot of different categories and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, and it is a Squad movie. Now, personally, I do enjoy the Suicide Squad as a team. Personally, it's probably one of my favorite teams. I think they're pretty cool. I think the concept of them is pretty cool. So, yeah. Anyways, let's go into this. So, yeah, again, this does take place in the DC animated universe, or I think that's what it's called, or DC animated movies or something like that. Basically, in that whole universe full of DC movies, basically. Uh, and I'm not even too sure about this one thing though. There's one thing that puzzles me about this movie a little bit. Uh, just in a few different things is this connected to the Batman Assault on Arkham movie, if you remember that. But I know for sure that's not in the DC animated universe. Basically, I know this one is for sure, but I'm not too sure about that one. Just seeing as though like the animation's kind of similar in a sense. Deadshot's in that one, and at the beginning of the Suicide Squad, this movie, basically Deadshot's in it in the first kind of run where there's the Suicide Squad basically, and they're just on a mission. Uh, then of course like Captain Boomerang is there still. Uh, then Killer Frost is here, Harley Quinn, and those are all characters that were from that original movie as well. So that kind of makes you wondering, and especially Captain Boomerang just like the Task Force S again, and then basically that happened. So it kind of leads me to believe this is maybe like a soft reboot. Maybe it's like similar to the DCEU where it's kind of like a soft reboot in a sense. So yeah, I mean Assault on Arkham wasn't even a bad movie or anything. It just maybe it's just a little bit of a soft reboot. Now this movie actually delivers on actually an R rating. It's rated R. And for some good reasons. I mean, I think this at the time was like the first DC animated movie at the time to be rated R. I believe, I think the year it came out is either 2018 or 2017. It was either this or Justice League Dark. I can't exactly remember which one came out first, but I mean, it was one of the first to come out with an R rating. Now, I thought this was a little bit of a tone change, especially for the DC animated movie universe. DCAU, basically, because before this, most of it was PG-13. I mean, it was still dark and stuff like that. Like, there was some hard pushing to the R rating. Like, I remember, for especially in Son of Batman, for example, that was this heavy push. Just seeing, like, different, like, Deathstroke, like, literally getting his eyes stabbed out in a violent way, and, like, all these different ways and stuff like that. So that was one thing, as was especially in that movie there was like some heavy violence at the start and stuff like that. So it was interesting to kind of see this a bit of a tone change for the whole DCAU. Uh, Now I'm gonna first of all say this is like really, it's a graphic movie. I must say it's like very graphic. Uh, Lots of violence in this movie. That's one thing about this movie, and I actually like it. I mean, it's really suited well for the Suicide Squad. Now, in myself personally, I believe the Suicide Squad, or Suicide Squad, basically. I personally think they're a very rated R team. Now, I don't think they're really. I mean, of course, maybe you could put them in a PG-13 movie or something like that. But I mean, in my opinion, if you're doing a straight Suicide Squad movie, it should be rated R. I think they're very much a rated R character. I mean, even with PG-13, I honestly, I think you can work anything else with a good, like anything else with a good PG-13 rating. But I believe the Suicide Squad, you can't really get it right without kind of giving that the R rating. That's really why the reason why that original Suicide Squad failed, for example, because again, their heads are getting blown off and stuff like that. So yeah, enough about that. Let's go quickly and talk about this movie. I'm kind of getting off track here, but yeah, Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. Basically, in this movie, the Suicide Squad are detached by Amanda Waller to basically get a card that's called like a Hell Get Out of Hell free card, basically. And there's a bunch of different characters. There's the Suicide Squad, which consists of Deadshot, Bronze Tiger, Copperhead, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang, and Killer Frost as well. So there's about 6 characters in that. And then we have a few other characters like Vandal Savage, who's going after the card, as well as his daughter Scarlet Savage, and also a character named Knockout. And then we actually see one of the more shocking things, and that is the Reverse Flash is essentially alive still after the whole Flashpoint paradox events, in the sense that when he got shot in the head, and everyone thought he was dead. Basically, he went super fast and basically just like trying to stop his death for a few. And I suppose this is supposed to take place a few weeks, maybe after Flashpoint. So that's what he literally said. He's like, I pushed it off days and weeks. So yeah. Sorry about that. I was just grabbing a drink there. So yeah, that whole all happens, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. Basically, the Suicide Squad kind of go on a road trip, kind of following them and stuff like that. And I definitely thought it was pretty interesting. I mean, again, that opening scene was actually the most interesting opening scene, personally, in my opinion. Just seeing as though we kind of saw the Suicide Squad in action, then we see them all dying like that, and just you get a taste of like what's to come in terms of like that it's pretty violent. I mean, they literally their heads blew off, and also the fact that they were killing the guys pretty violently as well. So there's that thing as well. I must say the plot twist for this movie are pretty decent. I mean, honestly, I was kind of expecting maybe perhaps somebody's gonna turn to the another side and be bad, even worse than the Suicide Squad or something like that. And then yeah, that all happened, and Killer Frost basically was the one to turn and whatnot. And basically, that all happened. It kind of surprised me in terms of the deaths, though. That's one huge thing. Again, this is supposed to take part in the DC movie universe, so I was curious to see what's going on. And it was interesting to kind of see that Vandal Savage ended up dying, which is one thing very interesting. It actually surprised me too in the first part where Vertigo died. I was pretty like curious what the heck just happened there. So that was one thing as well. Again, he ended up dying. Then Copperhead ended up dying as well, which was actually, it wasn't too surprising, but in the manner of his death was really weird. Killer Frost as well died, so that was another thing too. That just kind of weirded me out. And Bronze Tiger ended up dying in the end too. That's another thing. I did like the dynamic between Bronze Tiger and Deadshot. I felt like there was a lot of character development between the two as they decided to hate each other. Now they're like more friends towards the end. So that was one thing as well. That was pretty interesting. Uh, yeah, again, Reverse Flash, he ended up basically, he's kind of like deadish in a sense. So yeah. Some things that surprised me that didn't really happen was, honestly, it didn't really have much of a villain. I mean, Vandal Savage, yes, was kind of like a villain. It was more just like a showdown kind of thing. Uh, and I mean, this is a very dark toned movie and stuff like that. So it was interesting. I give it props for that. But I mean, definitely some stuff that were personally missing. Now, I know in Apocalypse War, because I remember that movie, a lot of that movie, King Shark was in it. Now, one thing I find very strange about this movie is the fact that it doesn't even have King Shark in it, which I personally think maybe he should have been in it. It just feels a little off after that whole first scene to not really see much people die or anything like that. So that's one thing. Maybe I would like to see like maybe 7 members at least, but that's just my kind of opinion on that. But I mean, in terms of like rating wise, honestly, I would give it probably like a 7.5 out of 10. It's still an interesting movie. Just again, it's not the greatest or anything like that. But anyways, that's pretty much it though. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.